right, everybody. So real quick, got a little bit of bonus footage, I guess you could say, from Duels of Runeterra number 13. It's going to be Hyped versus AnnieDesu in the top 16. I wanted to get the top 8 and the top 4 and the finals out to you guys ASAP. So that's why those came out first. But wanted to get some hyped action in here as well, as he has done incredibly well throughout, his entire competitive Legend of Runeterra career thus far, topping so many Duels of Runeterra, Jam Fest, all types of different tournaments that we have held here in the NA and EU. So good to see his face once again going up, this time against AnnieDesu. And of course, he is a member of Team Liquid, who was nice enough to sponsor this tournament. So got to get some gameplay of him in there as well. So with that said, as always, guys, if you're new to the channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We got tons of Legends of Runeterra content. You're going to catch me casting damn near every tournament that is happening right now, whether it be in EU, Brazil, NA. We got everything here. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you like this particular match, Hyped versus AnnieDesu, hit the like button. But without further ado, let's get into the game. The Vi Darius deck here. This is a super spicy matchup in the beginning, right? We have Lux Thresh is definitely not like a new deck by any means, but it is newly being played recently, right? Like BBG played it at Fight Night. I think that's why a lot of people are looking at it as a viable deck again. And now we're seeing it here versus a Vi Darius Sumpworks Maps deck.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, this version is different than what we saw in the past because the original version was an Undying deck. Mm-hmm. So that's, sort of a big difference between what it was and what it is now.
And we're going to see... So, okay, one of the things we were talking about earlier when we saw AnnieDesu play this deck, right, was we have Legion Grenadier now at 2 health. And we also have the Crimson Disciple at 1 damage when it gets hit, right? So one thing that we saw was that people were a lot more willing to attack and block into the Crimson Disciple just to chip damage into its health. And Legion Grenadier can also now be procced with something like a Demolitionist. And those seem like really, really minor changes, but they are kind of inadvertent buffs to the Crimson Disciple. I know that sounds really weird because ultimately Crimson Disciple is not... It's a way worse card. Okay, I get that. But the fact that people are more willing to take the damage, I think, does mean that she's still going to get some consistent damage through at least some of the time.
So previously, if I attacked with the Crimson Disciple and you didn't want to block it because you didn't want to take the 2 damage, you would just take 2 damage.
Yeah, that's it.
From the attack. So, like, the consistent damage was still coming out more or less. I forgot that people couldn't see my face, so they couldn't see the face I was making in response to a buff onto the Crimson Disciple, because I was looking at you like you were out of your mind.
All right, listen, I don't know. Maybe it's a hot take. I just think that there are these kind of inadvertent changes made to the card that makes it so that people are playing around them a little bit differently than they used to. And mainly the Grenadier was what I think was the biggest addition there. Being able to actually proc it with Demolitionist is, I think, a big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see a compensation buff sort of work out in your favor like that, where, you're no longer vulnerable to Static Shock, which was sort of one of the big problems that you could run into with a Legion Grenadier, is that your entire early game of, like, Precious Pet into Grenadier could just get stonewalled out by this one spell that let your opponent draw a card. They'd still take the 2 damage. Obviously, like, it is overall a nerf, but it does have, spaces where it does work out a little bit better. And it looks like Hyped is thinking about going for a Remembrance after this dies, just in case he hits the Radiant Guardian so that he can get the Toughen Lifesteal onto it. Instead, just going to fire it off naked. If he gets Radiant Guardian, I'm going to laugh at him. Okay. I was so ready with it, too.
You gotta just do it sometimes, though, right? Like, it doesn't feel great if you get a Radiant Guardian, but if you need the additional tempo, you need that unit on board, you got to do what you got to do. And he gets rewarded. He gets the Cavalry, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is only a 25% chance to get the Radiant Guardian, so it is definitely really awkward to sort of take that line, especially because you would just be throwing away this Vanguard Sergeant more or less into one of these Precious Pets. Yep. And actually the nerf onto the Basilisk Rider, I think this is the only Basilisk Rider deck that we've seen over the course of the weekend. I don't think we saw any Darrowing earlier on, or if we did, we never saw the Basilisk Rider actually come out. Mm-hmm. But this one attack nerf is actually going to play out big into this Cavalry, not able to actually kill this unit.
Yeah, and yeah, this cavalry is going to do some work here. Yeah, like you said, this Basilisk kind of feels bad in the situation. I mean, he's got the 2 Vi in his hand to possibly pick off some other units. The Vi can't even really do anything about the cavalry as well, though. It's just going to challenge it and get killed. I don't know. I mean, AnnieDesu's in kind of a rough spot here. I don't really see how he's going to be able to push through the amount of damage that he needs.
Sump work maps. That's how he's going to push through that damage, baby. That's all it takes is one of this 2-mana bullshit spell that we don't see that often. But, you know, Hype does have the single combat available to him as well. So even if he does get challenged by the Vi with this cavalry, he can still single combat onto the Basilisk Rider and get an insane amount of value out of this cavalry.
Yeah, honestly, I would love to see a 10 attack Vi and Something Works map win this game. I feel like Hyped is going to have a way to get rid of it, though. Like, he already has a single combat in his hand for this cavalry to take out the Vi if absolutely needed. It looks like he's playing one of the single combats on a Basilisk Rider here to just get rid of that as proactively as possible. Obviously, you don't want any overwhelm units sticking around to get through any of that damage that you could have avoided otherwise. Yeah, this is just still really tough for Annie. I mean, I am pulling for this deck because I do like the creativeness of this, and I do like the Subworks map, but this Thresh Lux deck is just so damn good. You know, it just came back out of nowhere for patch 1.6, and the way that it can control the game and just avoid taking damage is absolutely nuts.
I'm actually not sure that I loved that sort of main phase single combat, as it does, you know, sort of tell AnnieDesu, hey, you don't want to fight my cavalry with this Vi. Mm-hmm. Whereas previously, I think that it was pretty reasonable for Annie to take the cavalry with the Vi in order to push through the Basilisk Rider, understanding that nothing else on Hype's board was an effective blocker for that. And I don't think, you know, then you wouldn't have had to use this second single combat in order to actually kill the Vi. And now Hype is left with a pretty weak board comparatively, only has the Spiderling, will have his option of Thresh or Lux on the following turn, though. So I think he's going to be able to stabilize. I actually can't see Annie's hand because we're not screen sharing, and I'm trying to open multiple Twitch streams, but it actually gave me a really funny freeze frame on Hype's face when my computer kind of shit out and froze.
And yeah, and I get to that single combat, I kind of agree with what you're saying, right? Like, it never feels bad for the single combat. Or sorry, it never feels good, is what I meant to say, when you're just straight up using a single combat as opposed to using it in response to something. Kind of like Glimpse. I mean, you always want to use Glimpse in response to some sort of removal or something like that. So that definitely was a curious decision. But, I mean, hey, it did get rid of the Overwhelm unit. Maybe he was concerned that it was going to get through some damage on the next turn. We do see the Subwork map strong. It's in play. This is a thing. It might happen, but it's not looking too good with what's on Annie's field right now.
Yeah, I mean, Annie does have the Vi in hand, and with the Noxian Fervor, it theoretically represents lethal. It's just a matter of actually getting the Vi back up to that 10 attack breakpoint, as we do currently only see her at 5. If I saw that number correctly.
The Vi, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanna open up the screen share, but I feel like it's gonna.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
It's like, sorry, man.
I think I can have 2 Twitches open at the same time and be fine, but because I have your chat open, that's kind of what's putting me off. And I do like interacting with chat where I can.
Yeah. So this, all right, Elixir of Wrath. I actually was not even paying attention. I didn't realize Elixir of Wrath was in this deck. Another card that I like here. Now, he just hovered over him too. Right now, he could get an 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. Wait, did I do that math right? That's going to be 8. Yeah. 11 damage plus the Legion Grenadier. He actually does have 12 damage if he's able to get through an elusive Vi attack. So he's...
I mean, yeah, if you play Sumpworks on the Vi, she hits for 7, Grenadier dies, hits for 1. That's just lethal.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was looking at 14. Yeah, so never mind. And I was going to say, well, the Wrath too, right? So even if Hyped had some sort of heal or something, the Elixir of Wrath could also come out and be lethal. So this is looking really good. This is all of a sudden with 2 draws, the Subwork maps and Elixir of Wrath. I mean, not for nothing, those 2 burst spell cards are exactly that, right? They are swing cards. They're super cheap, but they can completely swing a game just by drawing them, depending on what your field looks like.
And this is no, I wanted to say that this is where we see that second single combat sort of wasted out of Hyped. Being a problem, but honestly, I don't think it matters because the Lux isn't leveled to actually take out the Vi. He doesn't have anything that could kill the Vi, even if he did have that single combat still available to him. But yeah, I mean, this is why we don't see Subwork maps. This just feels cheesy, right?
It feels like a top deck. That's what it feels like. It feels like you just lost to straight up luck on a top deck. And God, that's going to feel bad for Hyped, man. That's like just really crappy to have to deal with that. And the Elixir of Wrath on top of it, too. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, but Hyped completed one of his Spirit Blossom missions. So who's the real winner here?
Oh, Hyped. Yeah, Hyped for sure. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to finish all those missions by like Monday. Like,
I think I spent like an hour yesterday just jamming games against AI so that I could try and client, because there's some shit that's like challenge 100 units. I'm like, I'm not playing that many games on ladder. I'm throwing 30 challenger units in a deck and going to town.
oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. What, in norms, right?
No, like you can do it against AI.
Oh, you can do it against AI, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's cheesy. That's easy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not going to challenge 100 units, and I'm not going to play normals long enough to do that.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I'd be lucky if I play 100 games in a week at this point. Oh, my God. The pass was always the play. Yeah, there's a lot of questionable things there on Hype. Like you said, the single combat. It doesn't look like that single combat really would have helped, not having something that could have killed Devi at that point. But God, just feels really bad regardless to lose to a Sump Works map. And we thought Poros was the thing that you didn't want to lose to. Now it's a Sump Works map on a Vi. Oh, man. So now we have the They Who Endure versus Thresh Lux. Another matchup I have yet to see, as it's one of the newer, this Thresh Lux in this metagame. Who do you think has the advantage in this matchup?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm inclined to say Hyped, just because the final spark is like, just Lux in general is something that's going to be difficult for Annie to deal with. And the final spark does get rid of a lot of chump blockers. It also critically kills that Neverglade Collector. And Hyped, being a Shadow Isle deck, does still have answers for the They Who Endure if it comes down sometime earlier than turn 10. You can't just Vengeance it before the Atrocity comes out. There's only one Atrocity out of AnnieDesu here. And does he have another Ravenous Butcher in hand? I can't see his hand at the moment.
AnnieDesu's?
Yeah.
No, he does not.
Okay.
No, that'd be nuts. But he is feeling pretty happy about his hand regardless, because when you have a Blighted Caretaker and
okay, that's what I knew. Have to have some kind of activator if he played Butcher on one.
Yeah, and he has another Curse of Keeper. Like, this is the dream. This is the nuts for AnnieDesu. God, yeah, especially against something like Hype's deck. Like, look at Hype's hand. He's, AnnieDesu's got the nuts. Hyped has, not got the nuts. Although, Hyped will get a 5-mana Remembrance off, which will feel a little good if he can get a Radiant Guardian. Here we go. Can he get as lucky as a Sumpworks map? Yeah, there it is. Hey, Boulevard.
I know. That's why I pulled back. Apparently, I am a little ahead of you again.
Yeah. So, yeah, it looks like only by about 5 seconds, though. So, or 4 seconds. So, yeah, wow. Okay, so that very much keeps Hyped in the game. AnnieDesu's expression kind of went down there. He was super happy, and now not so much.
See, that's great, though, because my streams are 4 seconds ahead of yours. It just validates me in knowing that the audio problems are on your end from your internet being shittier than mine.
Yeah,
so
it seems
nothing
like
to do with me.
I'm guys, don't buy stock in Cox Communications. Don't do it. No, this is actually a game now. I mean, Hyped is pretty low, so Annie might be able to just go so wide that Hyped can't really do anything about it, but he's probably going to get that lifesteal off again, so I really don't see how Annie can just take the route of being as aggressive as possible and trying to get this win quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Annie doesn't have a lot of impactful attackers on his side. Like, he's got a wide board, but only 2 of them actually represent 3 attack or more. So you can just block one of those with the Radiant Guardian, fire off the single combat onto the other one. All of a sudden, you're up to 19. Even if you eat everything else, you're back down to a little bit less than 19, and you just run out the other Radiant Guardian, because Hype does have 2 more copies of that card in his hand.
Yeah, and we do see, the single combat. He's going to go back up to full, essentially, and not only that, I mean, originally his hand kind of looked a little brick just because it was really high cost. You have the 2 Lux, the 2 Radiant Guardians, but now that he's able to stabilize, he's back up to 14 health. This hand's going to be pretty good here in a little bit. AnnieDesu drawing a They Who Endure, though. You mentioned he's only running 1 Atrocity. What are your thoughts on that? Like, I kind of feel like that's a little risky.
I mean, I feel like the Atrocity game plan isn't really what you go for in these decks anymore, and we haven't really seen Endure Spiders since Endure was 6 mana, and typically they were winning a lot more often with on-curve Endures than they were with the Atrocity, so it made sense for them to cut down on it, especially because there aren't really a lot of great Atrocity targets outside of the Endure. You've got the one of Ancient Crocolith, but outside of that, unless you're cheesing it out with an Escaped Abomination, it doesn't really feel phenomenal. You know, I think we see Fury of the North in the deck, so I guess it is a little surprising to me that we're only seeing the one, but as I had mentioned with some of the other decks like Sea Monsters, that are cutting down on the Atrocity because it's just not great in the aggro matchup. You know, you see that card, it's going to sit dead for a while. It doesn't actually offer up anything like that. So seeing the 3 Withering Wail, okay, I don't necessarily know that we needed the possession, especially if we are only running 1 Crocolith, but I do know that AnnieDesu specifically is a massive fan of the possession. So if you're going to trade off that as your other Atrocity, I can get it because it is AnnieDesu.
No, I mean, I think that possession, honestly, in this deck is super, super good. So if that's like the decision, like he cut an Atrocity for a possession, I don't necessarily disagree with that. It's perfect against something like a Radiant Guardian. You know, right now you're able to take a Radiant Guardian and sack it if you had like a Blighted Caretaker or something. That is huge. That's really big for Annie to be able to essentially pay 5 mana to kill a unit for a turn. But he does not have that combo, unfortunately. And now there's 2 lifesteal units on the side of Hyped. This isn't looking too good for AnnieDesu, but we also still don't see... Actually, so never mind. We have a Concerted Strike. So there is theoretically a way Hyped could deal with the They Who Endure, but he has to... The They Who Endure would have to be at 10 health or lower at this point, and I think if he does play, it's going to be much higher than that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And it's funny to me that even if this weren't an open decklist tournament, if I see the name AnnieDesu and I see Shadow Isle, I already know there's a possession in there. I don't have to look at the deck list to know that.
Wasn't he one of the first ones back when They Who Endure started getting super, super popular? He was one of the first ones to put the possession in there, I think.
I actually don't think so. I think that while Endure was popular, Annie was consistently bringing a Shadow Isle Ezreal deck that had a couple copies of possession. And then once the Crocolith version started to come out, I think people were already experimenting with possession by the time Annie actually hopped on the train of Endure Spiders.
Yeah, we're going to see the Cursed Keepers here maybe being able to poke some damage, and it doesn't really matter at this point due to the Radiant Guardians. I think Annie kind of just has to go for like 20 damage They Who Endure. Are we thinking that? Because I don't see him really getting rid of these Radiant Guardians anytime soon.
So I think the problem he runs into next turn is that if you play Endure either at the end of your turn or on your opponent's turn when they still have full mana for some reason, you do open it up to a couple of other removal options. Hyped would have the opportunity to, for example, get down Lux, Concerted Strike onto it, play another spell, and then finish it off with a Final Spark. Because I don't actually see how big it is currently, but I would imagine
10.
It's 10. Yeah, that's not the 14 that you would need it to be to survive the additional Final Spark.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I was saying earlier with the Concerted Strike and these 2 Radiant Guardians being able to deal 10 damage to it. Yeah, it's just a really rough spot for AnnieDesu to be in. He'll be able to prolong the game. I mean, he's got these 2 Neverglades to kind of sit back, block some stuff, drain the enemy a little bit. The drain's not really going to do any damage because of these Radiant Guardians being able to heal back up, but
it will stall out the game, which goes in Annie's favor at the moment because Hype does have such a command. If you can get your Endure up to be a 20/20, I still think you actually need to kill your opponent with the Atrocity specifically. If you go for an attack with this Endure, even if it's, let's say it's a 19/19 even, as long as Hype just blocks everything that comes after it with those Radiant Guardians, he's going to be fine. Obviously, you can position it to the left to play around that one a little bit better. But he's also got this for Demacia. So if you play sort of a weaker Endure, 16 health is sort of the range out of this Concerted Strike and this for Demacia. So that is something that Annie has to be cognizant of. And I think it's the reason we haven't seen this Endure come down while it's still in that Concerted Strike range. And I think we might even see it, sort of stick out there until it's up to like at least 17/17. But I'm not sure that Annie's going to be able to live that long.
Yeah, that's the question, right? Is he actually going to be able to make it? I think you're 100% right. If he actually, the only way he wins is if the They Who Endure is it's like a 20/20 They Who Endure, right? And
yeah,
I think, what is it at now? It's at 10. I mean, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it can get up to 17 right now. The Elise will provide at least 2 more units. So there is a way for him to eventually hit that 20 breakpoint. But the field on the side of Hypes is so big, you're going to start to see some final sparks come down. And the issue with the final sparks is that those will also do additional overwhelm damage on whoever they target. And that's really what's going to end the game the most quickly for Hyped here. And that's what Annie has to worry about.
Yeah, that on top of the fact that Hyped also can use this for Demacia offensively. If you fall down to a point where you're at, say 6 HP, then we could see Hyped play the for Demacia in order to just make it so that any attacker is lethal.
Yeah, so good to finally see that card alongside the 3/3 back in some Demacia decks. I feel like most people, generally speaking, don't really like for Demacia. It seems like now it's back in this deck. Obviously it's a 6-cost card, combos very well with Lux. Seems to do a little bit more work when you have boards like this on your side of the field. It definitely is going to give you a humongous board.
Yeah, and maybe with this double collector, Annie can stall out as long as he needs to. Hyped still doesn't have a Vengeance, which, for all the talk we've done about how this Concerted Strike can kill a They Who Endure, Vengeance just does it really cleanly. It doesn't care how big you are. Mm-hmm. And Annie really needs to be able to play Atrocity and Endure in the same turn and doesn't have that option available to him yet. And because of the Concerted Strike, it does have to one-shot Hyped. Otherwise, he can lifesteal back up to 20 in response to the Atrocity, even if he can't kill the Endure.
Here's the other thing, right? Like, we're like, oh, yeah, get the They Who Endure up to 20. Well, you kind of need Atrocity for that to even work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're looking at getting it up to, 30 so that it can... just do overwhelm damage or 25 or 6, I guess, if a Radiant Guardian blocks it. So he does draw the possession we were just talking about, but that doesn't really...
See, I was actually just about to bring this up too, because the problem that I have with the possession in a deck like this is you are sort of running this combo-oriented early game with the Ravenous Butchers and the Blighted Caretakers, like trying to go for that kind of strategy. But more often than not, when we see Endure Spiders pick up wins, it's when you're in a situation like this where you have 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then it's, I drew the other piece of the combo between Atrocity and Endure. Mm-hmm. And possession is not going to do anything with this hand.
No, it's really not, unfortunately. Now, the other thing I'm thinking, though, is maybe if he saves the spell mana going into turn 10, or it could be a turn... Well, it's already turn 9 anyways. Going into turn 10, he could, possession the Radiant Guardian on his next attack turn and then play They Who Endure on the same turn and try to just go for a big swing. But the problem with possession is it is a slow spell. So he's going to pass priority back over, and then there's things like for Demacia that can be played. There's things like single combat. There's a lot of tools that Hyped has, so I'm not even sure that will allow Annie to finish out the game there either.
Yeah, we could even see Hyped with the hand he has available to him. If he really wants to, glimpse beyond in response to the possession, and then when you play this They Who Endure, I play my other Radiant Guardian.
Yeah, exactly. And that's... I think he drew, all 3 Radiant Guardians this game?
Look, sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we thought, honestly, when this game first started, AnnieDesu had the nuts, and then Hyped had all the Radiant Guardians in the world, so we thought Annie was just going to beat him down, but Hyped was actually able to get a 5-mana Radiant Guardian down pretty early.
Yeah, Radiant Guardian is just, it's really coming out as one of the best Demacia cards in the format. We're even back to a point where we're kind of seeing it in Bannerman. Mm-hmm. And the lifesteal is relevant in so many matchups. We are in such a sort of board-focused format. And the tough units play out really well into that. One of the big things that I was liking out of the Karma Ezreals and the Heimer Vi's that we were seeing, especially the Karma Ezreals that were playing Vi, was the interaction of Health Potion onto a tough unit. Getting more value out of these buys, things of that nature. And one of the reasons that I was liking Karma Lux a lot is getting Health Potion down onto a Radiant Guardian felt game-ending.
Yeah, and the Vi. Was it you that I was casting with where we kind of had that epiphany of the Health Potions on the Vi? Yeah. And, oh my God, yeah, it feels so good to Health Potion a Vi and just get those multiple trades off on something like a Bannerman deck. And same deal, yeah, on these Radiant Guardians here. God, this Lux leveling up. Whew. That might be it for AnnieDesu. He might be able to play the They Who Endure here. I think he's just going to go for what I said earlier. He's going to try to possession, play They Who Endure, and just attack. And hope and pray.
We're still kind of far off of AnnieDesu's next attack turn, as he did have the attack token this turn. And I think if you play the Endure now, it probably just dies to... a couple of spells into a final spark, into another final spark, or even just an attack out of 4 Demacia.
Yeah, and the attack token's going back over to Hype. Annie would actually have to survive another round of attacks from Hype to be able to go for that, the possession and the They Who Endure in one turn. I think he can with these blockers, but he'll be super low. It's just not looking good. He would need even Atrocity. Like, even if he top decks Atrocity, he's shit out of luck because the amount of units that need to die are not dying. And I think Hyped is obviously taking that into consideration, right? Like, there's no need for him to kill the board until he knows he has a way to deal with They Who Endure and all that stuff.
Yeah, here we see Hyped actually hovers the Fort Demacio when the Endure comes down, understanding that is sort of one of his better outs to this card. Does have the Concerted Strike available to kill it. I don't think he's quite got lethal this turn, though. I think he is just a little bit off, but I think that he's more or less got complete control of the game. Annie is now going to have to find Atrocity as well as a second They Who Endure.
Okay, wait. So, okay, wait, though. There's no... Oh, wait, no. He can play Concerted Strike now and kill it. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. So he has the Fury of the North that can actually save it from the Concerted Strike.
So that it can die to Final Spark.
Oh, okay, never mind. I tried, man. I gave it a shot. Oh, that feels bad. And Annie drew that, too, probably thinking, like, okay, good. Now I have... Because there's actual options to Annie that would allow him to possibly win the game as long as Hyped can't deal with this They Who Endure right now, but... yeah, I mean, the Concerted Strike just so good. We're seeing that pop up a lot more now. Such a damn good card. I don't see why there's ever... I mean, he's thinking, I guess, but, like, I don't see why there's ever a reason you just don't just... I guess you could... You just attack here, right? And then you play the Concerted Strike in response to a block?
I mean, you could just Concerted Strike before combat in order to push through the Endure and get one more attacker at your opponent.
Oh, well, now you just do it in response to this.
Yeah, I think that Hyped is a little bit scared about, what an Atrocity means for him. I don't think it actually should be something that he cares about. And, okay, so, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to get another Final Spark for this, too. This might actually be lethal. Because now he's going to get another Final Spark.
Yeah, he'll get... Oh yeah, so he can just go ahead and Final Sparkle. Yeah, okay. All the overwhelm damage should be enough for lethal here, playing both of these spells. And I think that's going to be game on the side of Hyped. Not quite the top deck that Annie had. A little bit of a different victory as far as that's concerned. But is he going to play these? Or there we go. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. So he's actually
disconnected.
Okay, I was like, wait, what? Yeah, what is he? He's, I like his background. Oh, he disconnected in the middle of the... Dude, the look on his face after disconnecting is like he hates the world right now. I feel that pain. Like, I hate disconnecting in the middle of a ranked game. It's such a bad feeling.
All right, so he is... I don't know where you are exactly. I've got, like, both streams open. Annie is, like, significantly behind Hype for me, and you're somewhere in the middle of those two, it seems like.
No, so, yeah. So, all right, Hyped is back on stream now. He's unloading the final sparks on the Spiderling.
And I think as long as Hyped Scout attacks, he's got this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his final spark should force out Fury of the North.
Yeah, and I think that's just game because that's 10, 8, 6. Yeah, yep. If he scout attacks, it's game.
I'm glad you did the math.
Yeah. I mean, we all know how great we both are at math and many other things, apparently. But I think we are golden here. Yeah, and the scout will still be able to take out either one of these units if it does block. Yep, and that's game. So Hyped taking it away. Gonna be 1-1 even with the disconnect. God, Hype feels bad for Hype, man. You lose to that top deck on the side of Annie and then disconnecting during your victory. Can't catch a break.
Well, he still got in there. It was fine. No big deal.
So going into game 3 now, this should be interesting. I did not see the ban, so I'm curious to see what they did ban from each other.
Oh, Hype's gonna go to the bathroom first.
What? Yeah. So, all right. Now that we have a second.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this Vi Darius elusive, whatever you want to call it, deck?
I mean, it's got a cheesy game-ending combo, but at its core, it's still sort of the Darius harrowing deck, right? You've still got the aggressive early units. You still have Basilisk Riders and Dariuses that are a little bit hard to deal with. The Sumpwork map actually has a fair amount of decent targets. Basilisk Rider's not as, phenomenal as it was, but Darius, Vi, and I guess Basilisk Rider are okay. I'm a little curious to see how much the Captain Pharaon has come up for him, because that is something that we weren't seeing in the Darrowing decks previously, or even the Darrowing decks that weren't running the Shadow Isle, because we did see players in this, I think it was the second week of PCS that I casted, really experimenting with this. We saw a Bilgewater version, we saw a Piltover and Zon version. That one wasn't by Sumpworks, it was like Mystic Shots and Get Excited or something along those lines. We saw Freljord versions with Fury of the North, so I think it's just once again kind of dipping outside of that sort of realm of normalcy and getting to play around with your regional composition a little bit better. I don't think this is something that's going to stick, but I don't mind to see the experimentation.
Yeah, and it's funny because there has always been that level of experimentation with the Sumpworks map. Like, there's always this dream idea that you're able to play it on this giant unit for just a really easy victory, right? Because, I mean, that's the idea of the Ionia elusives. Your opponent can't block. The only difference is you're trying to go a little bit wider with the elusives and just have multiple elusive units. This time you're putting all your eggs in one basket, hoping to attack with a Vi or a Darius. And yeah, I got to agree with you. I'm a little interested to see how that Captain Pharaon is faring for him throughout the tournament, because we didn't see it in the games he's played thus far. He did already take a victory away from Hyped, unfortunately, so I don't think we're going to see that deck again unless he makes it to the top 8. But yeah, just to clarify too, everybody, because I knew I mentioned bans. There is no ban, so I forgot the format change because we've been through a lot of different formats here for Duels of Runeterra. We have 5 games for the top 16 per match, and there's no ban. So everybody's using all the decks, and we get to see everybody's deck here. So no deck banned out from either player.
Sorry, so in order to solve my problem of not being able to have multiple Twitch streams open, I've got my phone down in the corner with Annie's stream on it so that I can see his hand.
This is dedication, guys. We got all the tricks coming out here to try to make sure we're getting everything done properly. And so we're going to see the They Who Endure versus the Midrange Frostbite. This matchup is terrible for AnnieDesu. This is not a matchup that you want to do with the They Who Endure deck.
Yeah, this is a matchup that we saw a lot sort of when Endure was very popular. Or rather when Endure came back into popularity, because for the longest time, the meta was sort of you run your PZ Ionia deck, you run your Frostbite midrange, and you run Sea Monsters. And that was the standard for 4 weeks. And towards the end of that, we started to see Endure come out a little bit more.
Yep.
And those matchups were typically decided by, the Frostbite versus the Endure. And, 9 times out of 10, if I could just Frostbite your Endure, there's nothing you can do about that. My Reckonings completely destroy every other play that you have available to you in your deck. If I can kill the Endure while it's frostbitten with with a Culling Strike rather, then you're just kind of dead. And I think the Kato, the Arm, and sort of the other Overwhelm adaptations we've seen come out of this deck are going to play out big in this matchup. So it is very important that Hyped has that Kato available to him. Because look at this. This is a bunch of 1 health units on the side of AnnieDesu. What do those mean? Those mean nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. Bupkis.
Well, they mean damage to the Kato, the Arm. So that's exactly what Hype's eyeing. And
Bupkis.
Bupkis. Where did that word come from? I think I've heard that before.
This is a vocabulary stream back, baby.
Oh, is this back? Guys, I don't know if I can pull up a notepad this time, though. I don't want to break everything. Jesus. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it's I'm trying to think to myself, right? What does Hyped draw that allows AnnieDesu to win? I think it's just if he just concedes, that's how Annie wins. I can't think of anything.
Currently, he does only have a sort of proactive Frostbite effect in the Ash. If Annie can find a big They Who Endure before Hyped can find anything like specifically a Harsh Winds or a second Ash to get down on field and represent that flash freeze, then that's sort of how you win, is you see your opponent slip up, or even if you just don't find Reckoning, because as I mentioned, Reckoning will completely blow out this board. But if you don't draw it, who cares if it's if it's an answer? It doesn't matter. So there are spaces that the Endure Spider player can win. This isn't as one-sided as we typically see out of counter matchups. It's not like sort of the 80-20 that we feel like we see when this plays into, for example, a Demacia midrange deck. It's more I'd say 65-35 at best for the Freljord player. Like, if you play 3 games, I think it's reasonable for the Indoor Spider player to pick up one of those.
I think that's being real optimistic, man.
Probably.
I think it's a little optimistic. I mean, I obviously Hype cannot draw Frostbite, but I somehow just don't. That's very difficult for him not to draw it. With his hand the way it is, I will say, you know, like you said, if Annie is able to get down an early day who endure, this would be the hand to be able to potentially take it away from Hype. But you're going to have at least like 4 or 5 more turns before that's even a possibility. And that's 4 or 5 more draws that Hype's going to have to get through his deck and find those cards that he needs. So we'll see what happens. AnnieDesu does have a decent hand as far as being aggressive is concerned, though. If he's able to level this Callista, I mean, he's going to start putting the hurt on Hype tier.
Oh, it feels bad to see the Ancient Crocolith come down before the possession is drawn, but it will level the Callista. And, you know, this is sort of another space that you have, is the Crocolith Callista. Callista is going to be difficult for Hype to deal with. He does have the Ash available, but that's going to hit this Crocolith, and we do have an effective blocker with this Escaped Abomination.
Yeah, such a good combo. You know, all of those self-harm cards, really. And I know, like you said, it feels bad to use the Ancient Crocolith there without having the possession, but he's still got Blighted Caretaker. He's still got a lot of other options to use with that possession to really upgrade that card and get as much value out of it as possible. So we'll see if he does end up drawing into the one of copy that he has here. But Hype, with just as big of a field, honestly. Like, Hype's field, just as much of a challenge for AnnieDesu to get through. Wow, AnnieDesu. Whew! English, guys, it's hard. For Annie to deal with, as is vice versa with Hype dealing with Annie's field too. So it's very even actually in regards to that as everybody's field. Those tokens feel a little worse, but they do trade well with the Trapper.
You know, I was hyping up this Kato the Arm, and now all of a sudden it doesn't matter because, you know, we just haven't seen it come down.
Yeah.
Hype does have to deal with this Callista before that can sort of get the ball rolling and eat away Hype's board, but this is going to get counteracted by this Fury of the North. I think protecting this Callista is really good for AnnieDesu. This is a card that can get a lot of value. Hype is going to have to wait around for his next attack turn to try and deal with it again. And he has to deal with this Crocolith before the Calling Strike is even an option onto the Callista.
Wow, opting to save the Callista here with the Fury of the North. I want to address something, though, real quick.
Okay.
Hyped.
Yes.
All right. Am I wrong in thinking that... I feel awkward saying that I'm hyped for something while casting a hyped game, because I feel like people automatically take it as a pun, and I feel like the word's a little bit devalued because we're casting hype stream. Like it doesn't really give that oomph that you're used to when you say you're hyped about something, right?
I have run into similar problems with a couple of card names where, like, I'll be discussing a card and I'll say a pretty common word that just happens to be in the card name or something like that.
And it just, like, devalues the word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I don't love it.
So, not that I mean, I think the name Hyped is awesome. So good on Hype for nabbing that one off Twitch. That's pretty cool. But yeah, just kind of feels bad for us casters to say Hyped. But we do see the attack here getting blocked on the side of Hyped. And yeah, we see that they who endure an atrocity with no Frostbite. This might be what we were talking about.
This might be what I was talking about. Oh, you didn't say shit
you're
about
gonna
that.
take all the credit
yeah,
now?
You said this was more one-sided for the Frostbite deck. Yeah, how about now? Who's goofy?
I know, right? So, or what was I forget the game that you called super early, but then it didn't happen.
It doesn't matter because I didn't say Limbo.
Yeah. It doesn't count. I might be the one receiving that treatment today, or at least for this game.
It's fine though. As a caster, I actually like calling games really early because then it gives, you know, like chat and the viewers something to like look forward to, which is shutting me up and proving me wrong. And you know, if I was 100% right 100% of the time, it wouldn't actually be that fun to watch. I could just read you. I could open up the storybook and just read it to you. This is an audiobook tournament. All of a sudden, where's the fun in that? And the answer is there is none. I need to be wrong sometimes, or you guys have nothing. Like, just talk shit to me on Twitter, man. Just do it.
I was gonna say, yeah, that gives chat something to talk shit about, and we all know how much chat loves to do that. So
yeah, like, the audio issues got fixed, and chat's been dead. There's no shit to talk.
All right, guys, should we go back to having audio problems? All right, all I got to do is like press any button on my computer, and I think it'll break something. So
open up that notepad, baby.
Yeah, let's get this vocab lesson up and running. So, yeah, I'm curious to see if Hyped can draw some Frostbite. This is literally what I'm waiting on now. What is the They Who Endure at? Ooh, did we just see it there?
Annie like refuses to hover over it.
He knows we're watching too. Like, come on in. There it is. All right, 5. Did I say 5? I think it said
It's on my
5.
phone. Hold on, let me pull my phone up in front of my face.
I think it said 5.
I squint real hard.
Wow, so he actually has a long way to go now that I think about it, which feels really bad. And yeah, this Culling Strike also going to negate the Glimpse Beyond.
5 sounds insanely low,
6,
given
yeah.
that AnnieDesu is still at 20 and has played an Ancient Crocolith.
I mean, so it's going to go up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's potentially 9 here. And he does have Blighted Caretaker for this Cursed Keeper next turn. So actually, let's see, that's 10, 11, 12. So he has the 13 units right now to be able to do it. So between not next turn, but his Hype's next attack turn is when Annie would theoretically be able to get this They Who Endure off outside of a Frostbite effect. Now, my question for Annie, because Annie obviously does not know what's in Hype's hand.
Right.
So, as the Endure player, do you just like gung-ho, kamikaze, screw it, I got the combo, let's do it? Like,
I mean, there aren't Rhyme Fang Wolves in the deck anymore.
well, here's my thought process. It's like the longer the game goes on, the more likely Hyped is to have Frostbite.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you need to play the Caretaker this turn to actually get the...
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
so this will get him into lethal. So next turn when he goes for it,
do
you just like YOLO and just rip it?
I mean, I don't think you have to. I think because Hyped probably isn't going to be representing lethal, then you can just kind of slow roll, at least like go for an attack with it and see if your opponent has a Frostbite effect. And if they don't, then I think you can gung-ho fire it off.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I mean, obviously the attack makes sense. I just think that, I think you got to take the chance with this deck, with this being the matchup it is with the Frostbite effects. You got to do it. And he's got to figure now, too, with the way that Hype's been playing, there must not be too much Frostbite, especially if he goes good. If he goes in with these 2 saplings, it might kind of show him that he still has no Frostbite if he doesn't save any of these, Hearth cards or anything like that.
I mean, you would assume Brittle Steel is going to be the answer onto one of these saplings, and that can't hit the Endure anyway. I mean, realistically, AnnieDesu only has to worry about 2 Harsh Winds. Unless Hype can get an Ash down, then you have to open up the possibilities of the Ash's Flash Freeze. But there's not really that many... Oh, there is 1 Flash Freeze in the main, actually, for Hyped.
I was going to say, and there's only 2 Harsh Winds, though, not 3?
No, just 2.
So
I mean, Harsh Winds is like kind of there are a couple of dead cards that you can draw, kind of like with the Daring deck where we would consistently see them lose if they drew too many spells. Hyped can run into a similar problem. Yeah,
and actually, regardless of if the They Who Endure gets to, the amount of damage it needs to get to, he's going to do more poke damage here. It actually is already at that. He didn't even need to have more units die, but he's well within lethal now, regardless of if Hype draws any sort of heal, which he does not have in this deck. So... yeah, this might actually be Annie's game, and we're going to... well, okay, I'll take credit for this one. I'll take credit for this one. I am going to eat my words. And,
don't worry, I got you on the next one.
Yeah, yeah, right? We'll just trade off who can make the worst game call.
It's teamwork, not in that we share the blame and that we'll pass the blame back and forth, but he picks up the Flash Freeze.
Oh, wait. Yeah, well, he picks up the Ashes Flash Freeze. So that's super, super good pickup for Hyped. And now like just that's why this matchup isn't that great for Annie, because that's how easy it swings. Like now there's literally, it's just not gonna, there's nothing that Annie can do as long as Hype plays correctly, which I imagine he will, and just doesn't play the Flash Freeze.
I mean, it's probably fine though, right? I don't know how big this Endure is, but does the Endure just represent lethal on the attack?
I think it's at 4. Oh yes, actually.
So then you attack, you get Flash Freezed, and then next turn you Atrocity, and you're chilling. Unless Hype picks up another Flash Freeze here.
So what other...
or some kind of removal spell.
Well, I was gonna say, what are the removal spells that get rid of the They Who Endure? Is it just Freeze plus Culling Strike, or...
Culling Strike and Reckoning.
Oh,
or another
Freeze
effect
Reckoning
to respond to the Atrocity.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, actually, now even has... it doesn't matter.
That's
Oh, no, that's right. So here's the way this is going to work out. This is something that I always forget in this matchup. Hyped will have the option to open attack, which will freeze the Endure and take the Atrocity off the table.
Oh, and he has the Kato. Okay. And he has the Kato and a Fury of the North now. He might actually just have lethal next turn, depending on how the block... well, no, because then the They Who Endure can still block.
Yeah, I'm trying to... actually, I don't know. This Ash could level.
He could... all right. But the
Ash will not level.
The Ash will not level.
No, she's going to be at 4 out of 5 when she attacks next turn.
Well, no. Well, wait, what about this flash freeze right here, though?
That's what puts her at 3.
Oh, okay, then 4.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mapped it out real quick.
I'm thinking he could pull the They Who Endure next turn with the Glory Seeker, attack with the Kato and the Ash, puts the Ash up to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he doesn't have lethal with the Overwhelm Ash next turn?
He could have lethal if he plays it exactly like this. If you just take the because then you. So I was gonna say if you just take this 7, then you have lethal with Fury of the North. The problem is that then Atrocity opens up as an answer for the blood. Any of the other units other than Endure.
Wait, how does he have lethal with Fury of the North though?
With the Kato.
That's what I'm saying though. If it's Fury on top of the Kato, Ash still doesn't do enough damage with a blocker.
So you put it onto the Trifarian Glory Seeker and pull the weakest unit.
Oh, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, that's still 1 off. Oh, wait, no. Weakest unit's got 2 health. All right, yeah, that's exact lethal. Okay.
Yeah, but I think now it's not going to work out because he's in atrocity range on any unit that isn't named Endure. So just not really working out for him. Goes for the victory, but doesn't find it because of the atrocity and how low he has fallen over the course of the game.
So Annie, just thinking here. I guess he just played. Why not play the Hapless Aristocrat at this? Or actually, no. Yeah. Because of lethal, maybe you don't want to play the Hapless Aristocrat.
I think you've mathed out that your opponent only kills you with Fury of the North, and they already had that. Or maybe you just don't even think about it. You just say one more unit. What does it matter? But if Annie just throws out the atrocity here, he wins. Otherwise, he gives Hype the potential to top deck another answer in another Flash Freeze or a Harsh Winds.
Wow, this is going to be really interesting if Hyped can take this one home. I'm trying to think of what Annie could draw as well that would prevent that exact lethal that you mentioned from coming out.
He could draw his own Fury of the North.
Yeah.
He's got Withering Wails and Vile Feasts as well.
To heal, okay.
Yeah.
So he actually has a lot of outs here.
He's actually going to go for the lethal, though. There's nothing Hype can do about this.
Yeah, he's questioning it, and yeah, wow. And it's a gamble, but it's a good gamble. And does he do it? Yep. Oh man, wow.
I'm sitting here staring at the screen scene for Hyped while you're still trying to figure out if he plays it or not.
I know. I could tell with what you just mentioned too. But yeah, wow, that was a very good call on the side of Annie to go for it there.
And that was game 3?
That was game 3, yes.
So Hyped is going to still have to pick up a win with this Ash Noxus. Also has to pick up a win with the TF Ezreal that we haven't seen him break out yet. And Annie is down to just the Zed Garen.
Wow. So now, and Dorendi has put this in chat too, like, is that actually correct or is that just straight up a risk there?
I don't think it's a risk. I mean, Jack the Rip, understands that Brittle Steel was an answer there, so that was another thing that you had to consider. But I think that it is better to just go for it in a situation like that. You're not actually losing a whole lot. You'd actually be a little bit scared on the following turn, but you're not dying, right? You don't die in that case because you only die to Fury of the North. And then you just attack with your Atrocity, or you attack with your Endure on the following turn, and you just win probably. Yeah. So I think the Atrocity was correct.
Yeah, no, I do think it was correct as well. Because even something like a Culling Strike, it would have come out on the They Who Endure. Actually, no, he targeted a 4 attack unit, right?
Yeah, 4/3.
So, yeah, no, I do think that was the correct play there. So, awesome read by Annie, not just, I guess remembering that although the deck wants to get They Who Endure and Atrocity, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put the Atrocity on the They Who Endure for the win. Picking it up there. And now we have... Okay, this is the typical Zed Demacia deck that we've been seeing versus the mid-range that we just saw last game.
Yeah, this should be a pretty easy win for Hyped. This one is definitely... I know that we said it was favored against Indoor Spiders, and then Indoor Spiders won. That's why, the Indoor Spider doesn't have a 0% chance to win.
Yeah.
I think this one is a lot more favored for Hype. There's not a lot of space that the Demacia deck gets to exist in, especially because we're seeing Garen instead of Lucian. You don't have those aggressive options in the Lucian Senna. You still get completely destroyed by things like Reckoning.
I feel like every time we say a specific archetype has an advantage over another archetype, we're just getting proven wrong. Like, I feel like that's happened so many times when we mention that.
So that's why I've started doing these like matchup breakdown videos, and I think it's really important to show like this is how it typically plays out, and then if you can find another game where it's like this is what it takes for that other deck to win. Because when you sit down and look at them side by side, you can see how much has to go right for that unfavored deck.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think again, and I mention this a lot when I cast these games, I think it's just another tribute to how well designed the game is. I mean, when you have decks that seem unfavored but are still able to take home victories, at least at like a 60-40 rate or even a 70-30 rate, I think that's healthy. Because there should be advantages in certain matchups and whatnot, but the advantage shouldn't be so advantageous that the deck just absolutely has no shot at winning.
Yeah, and we actually saw Hype throw away the Omen Hawk here under the Fleet Feather Tracker, deciding that he didn't really care about the Omen Hawk sticking around as much as he wanted to preserve his health total here. And now does get down the Glory Seeker. We're one turn away from Reckoning. And Annie doesn't have the answer in the single combat. Could just get completely blown out if he tries to play a Zed on the following turn.
Yeah, 100%. And Hyped will be able to pull something here with the Glory Seeker. He could go ahead and pull the bird. He could go ahead. I mean, he's targeting the Bright Steel here. He could go ahead and pull that with the Glory Seeker as well. Yeah, and let's see. If he does it like this next turn, that's 6, 7, 8 mana next turn. So he would have plenty for Reckoning on top of the Brittle Steel next turn as well. And I think that's exactly what Hype's going to go for here.
Yeah, and I think the reason that he kills this Bright Steel Protector instead of the Fleet Feather Tracker is because he's sort of, making it a little obvious he has Brittle Steel if you like sit down and think about it really, really hard. Because otherwise you want to take out the Fleet Feather Tracker, right? You don't want your opponent to be able to challenge your unit on the following turn and take it out for free.
Yep.
And you don't get as much value Brittle Stealing the Protector because you don't have as many blockers.
Well, and it also critically puts him at a point where he does bank the 3 spell mana. And I think that was probably something that he considered there, so that he does go into this next turn having enough mana for the Reckoning, enough mana for the Brittle Steel if it does, if that Fleet Feather Tracker does decide to go ahead and pull the Glory Seeker. I'm impressed with myself. I always forget the name of that stupid bird for some reason, and I actually remember that it's called Fleet Feather Tracker, and it's such a common 1-drop too. I don't know why I can't seem to ever remember that.
So here we're actually going to see the I don't actually like this out of Hype, this Iceveil Archer onto the Garen here. Because now you don't have a freeze effect for Garen next turn. And if you're not going to be able to Reckoning this turn because you kind of assume that the Fleet Feather is going to attack your Trifarian Glory Seeker, you have to Brittle Steel to protect this in order to make sure that you have a 5-attack unit to get the Reckoning off a little bit later. We are going to see Culling Strike to kill the Garen, but I feel like you could have just maybe taken the damage and gone for this Reckoning play next turn, but it looks like Hyped doesn't want to play as risky with his life total.
I do like this. I mean, it gets Annie to possibly commit a little bit more to the field before the Reckoning does come out. I mean, Hyped also has the Avarosian Hearthguard that is going to give him a perfectly okay Reckoning to be able to get off. The issue with Garen, too, is that a Garen with a single combat would be able to actually, kill something, one of the 5-attack units on Hype's board to prevent the Reckoning from going off. So this way, oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
These are buffed by the Omen Hawk that we saw on turn 3. It always feels really bad when you play your Omen Hawk and then you just proceed to draw, 4 spells in a row, and then 6 turns later you're like, why does this have a +1/+1 buff onto it? Oh yeah, because I'm unlucky as hell and couldn't draw anything early on when my Omen Hawk mattered.
Yeah, and Annie though getting the Garen just replaced immediately. Wow.
I was looking at the Garen on Hype screen, and then I looked down at my phone, and Annie drew a Garen, and I was like, oh, now he's got Judgment. And I'm like, no, that's the Garen on field. He's that much behind.
Genevieve now, too. Genevieve is super good on this field, especially with this. I mean, the Fleet Feather won't really be able to pull anything of value right now to actually take advantage of that buff, but either way, still feels pretty good getting the Genevieve off this turn, and it's going to get some insane value. Possibly trading with both of these Ice Veils could put itself into the Avarosian and one Ice Veil, and then have the Fleet Feather pull the other Ice Veil. A lot of options here for Annie.
This Genevieve top deck is super impactful. The +1/+1 onto the Garen is kind of insane, especially since Annie does have these double Relentless Pursuits that he's felt kind of clogged on.
Yep.
If Hyped went for the Reckoning, Annie would actually have the opportunity to put Hyped at, I think, 1? No. He wouldn't be able to get through 2 attacks with the Garen.
I'm I'm actually gonna I'm gonna give it a shot to share on Discord Hype's game.
Oh no.
I know, right? Did it break anything?
We'll find out soon. The problem is, can we fix it again if it did?
No, I think we're good. I feel pretty confident now. My confidence level is building since about 2 hours ago. So...
Yeah, that'll be your downfall.
Oh man. So yeah, Relentless Pursuit, a thing in AnnieDesu's hand too. So wow, this is going to be a hell of a turn. And yeah, it looks like he is going to go ahead and decide to buff the Genevieve, get rid of one of these six attack, or 6/6 I should say, Avarosian Hearth Guards, and punch through a lot of damage. This might just be game here.
Relentless Pursuit, Hype will still have 2 blockers.
Yeah, he'll still have the other Hearth Guard will be available as well. So now here's the issue, right? Do you not play it because of that reason, or because you have 2 in your hand? Is it worth playing? I don't think so.
So I think Hyped is considering the Relentless Pursuit, which is why we see this block from the Iceveil Archer. It makes it so that if you take no blocks and Hyped plays, or and AnnieDesu plays Relentless Pursuit, you're losing your entire board, because this Garen's going to go up to a 7/7 with the buff from the War Chef, and you're not actually going to trade onto anything. You have to sacrifice your Hearthguard to kill the War Chef, and then put a little bit of a worse block onto that Garen. But Garen's going to level still. And, you could trade onto it next turn with the Trifarian Glory Seeker, but that does open up AnnieDesu to just play Zed Relentless Pursuit and take the game.
Yeah, wow. So this is... Yeah, here comes one Relentless Pursuit out here. He's going to take these... Wow, okay. So this is really, really good for AnnieDesu. That's insane. How much that Genevieve, like you said, it was super impactful when he drew it. That's exactly what I've said before, right? I mean, you have Genevieve versus Cythria. Genevieve is like that monstrous swing turn. Genevieve swings one turn way more than Cythria, and I think that's why a lot more people favor it, playing something like Relentless Pursuit, because you just want that giant turn where you just wreck.
Oh, Hyped. That's the worst top deck, because you have to attack the Garen because they have the attack token, but Hyped has no blockers.
Oh my god. Oh, I bet you he regrets putting that in his deck now.
I think he just regrets not drawing any Trifarian Assessors.
Oh my god. Yeah, and that's just going to be game. We can actually see it in the deck up top. So, AnnieDesu taking it home 3-1 versus Hyped. Wow, that was a hell of a matchup there. And wait, hold on. Were you saying that the mid-range Frostbite deck had the advantage there?
I didn't see shit.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, everybody. That is it for this top 16 gameplay. I hope you guys enjoyed the additional game from Duels of Runeterra number 13 as we head into yet another tournament weekend. I'm going to be casting the PCS Trophy Tournament. Qualifier number 6 we're on now, with Boulevard on Saturday. And tonight, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll be able to catch myself and Boulevard casting a Brazilian Invitational, which is essentially an all-star event of all of the Brazilian players that have done spectacular so far in this short lifespan of Legends of Runeterra. So definitely check it out if you guys are looking for some tournament action this great Thursday. And as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope it just works for you, and peace out.